Let me tell you something. Nobody in your HR department is ever gonna say out loud, "You are worth more than your job title." Way more. And the fact that you are sitting there feeling stuck, underpaid, or overlooked, that is not a you problem. That is a language problem. I am Berlin, and I've spent enough time in those corporate hallways, sitting in those fluorescent-lit conference rooms, grinding through performance cycles, watching guys way less capable than me get promoted to know that the game is rigged, not against hard workers, against people who don't know how to translate their hard work into something the market actually understands. So today, I am gonna fix that for you. Here is the thing nobody's talking about at the water cooler. Corporate life has this sneaky way of making you invisible. You show up every single day, you grind, you solve fires before your boss even knows they started, and then review season rolls around and somehow, someway, you are getting a 3% raise and a great job team email. Sound familiar? The problem isn't that your work doesn't matter. The problem is that nobody outside your building knows it happened. Your value is locked inside a system that has zero incentive to broadcast it for you. Your job title says Operations Coordinator, but what you actually do is keep a $50 million supply chain from falling apart every single week. See the gap. That gap right there between what your title says and what you actually do, that gap is costing you money. It is costing you opportunities, and it is costing you the career you actually deserve. The corporate machine loves vague language because vague language is cheap. Assisted with projects, supported the team, handled administrative tasks. That stuff sounds safe. It sounds professional. But to anyone on the outside, a recruiter, a hiring manager, a client, it sounds like nothing. It sounds like filler. And here is the kicker: you wrote it that way because that is what you were taught. That is all any of us were taught. Now, let me flip the script on you for a second, because this is where it gets real. Most people describe their work in terms of tasks. I managed spreadsheets. I attended client meetings. I ran weekly reports. But tasks don't pay. Impact pays. Problems solved pay. Think about it this way: nobody hires a plumber because he applies pipe fittings. They hire him because the basement is flooding and they need it fixed by Tuesday. Same deal with you, man. When you say, "I managed spreadsheets," a hiring manager hears maintenance. When you say, "I built a reporting system that cut executive decision, making time from 3 days to 4 hours," they hear solution. Those are two completely different guys in their head, even if it is the exact same work. I had a buddy sharp dude, 10 years in logistics, and he kept getting passed over for senior roles. His resume said things like coordinated cross-functional teams and managed vendor communications. Generic stuff. We rewrote it together. Same experience. Different language. He wasn't coordinating teams anymore. He was leading a 1-2-person cross-department task force that reduced fulfillment delays by 34% during peak QF4 season. Same job, totally different story. He got 3 interviews in 2 weeks. Or think about a finance guy who writes prepared quarterly budget reports. Okay, cool. So does every other finance person on the planet. But if what you actually did was identify a $200,000 recurring expense discrepancy that had gone unnoticed for 2 years and restructured the vendor contract to recover it. Bro, that is not a task. That is a skill with a $sign attached. The internal language of corporate life is built to make everyone sound the same. Your job is to break out of that sameness. So how do you actually do this? I call it the value translation method, and it is got 4 moves. First, you name the task minus what you literally did. Then, you name the problem that task was solving. Then, you describe the action you took and the decision-making behind it. Then, you land on the outcome, what changed because of you. And that outcome, that becomes your marketable skill. Let me walk you through it. Say you spent 2 years responding to customer complaints. That is the task. But the real problem was that your company had a 40% customer churn rate in the first 90 days of onboarding. Your action was building a follow-up communication sequence and flagging the top 10 complaint patterns to the product team. The outcome: churn dropped 18% over 2 quarters. The marketable skill: customer retention strategy and cross-functional product feedback systems. That is not customer service anymore. That is business impact. Try another one. Trained new employees. That is the task. The problem: high turnover because new hires felt lost and quit within 60 days. Your action was developing a structured 30-60-90-day onboarding program from scratch with no budget and no template. The outcome: first year, retention went up 25%. Marketable skill: talent development and onboarding architecture. See how that works. You are not changing what you did. You are just finally saying it right. You are speaking the language of value instead of the language of tasks. And that language, that is what gets you hired, promoted, and paid. Now, here is the part most guys skip, and I think it is the most important move of all. You cannot let your value live only inside your company's system. Performance reviews, internal shoutouts, manager feedback stuff disappears the second you walk out that door. You need to own your proof. Build a portfolio. Not a fancy one, a real one. Screenshots of dashboards you built. A 1-page case study of a problem you solved. A PDF showing before and after numbers. A short write-up of a project you led. Throw it in a Google Drive folder. Put it on a personal website. Stick it in your LinkedIn featured section. Make it visible to the outside world without needing permission from anyone who signs your paycheck. Because the market doesn't care about your title. The market cares about evidence. I know a data analyst who keeps what he calls a wins doc, a running Google Doc, where every month he logs one problem he solved and the result it delivered. 2 years in, he had 24 concrete, quantified wins sitting right there documented. When he went to negotiate a new role, he didn't talk about his years of experience. He showed receipts. That is the move. Stop trusting the system to validate you. Validate yourself and show your work. All right, here is where I leave you. You are not undervalued because you lack talent. You are undervalued because you've been using the wrong vocabulary to describe yourself. So here is what I want you to do this week. Pick 3 things from your current job, 3 things you do regularly, and run them through the value translation method. Task, problem, action, outcome, skill. Rewrite your LinkedIn headline to describe the problem you solve, not the title you hold. Start a wins doc and commit to updating it every single month. And if you've got artifacts sitting on your work computer, dashboards, decks, case studies, process docs, start collecting them now before they disappear into some company server you'll never access again. Your career is not defined by the company you work for. It is defined by the value you can prove you create. The market is out there waiting for you. Brother, go show up in a language it actually understands.